How surprising is this with what we've seen so far that Willie Taggart comes in? Is this his doing, or was this sort of the remnants of the previous regime that these guys weren't in shape?
Well, I think there's a case to be made that there's some of that there was something about them not being in shape. The month off, a month off will kill you no matter who you are, what kind of shape you're in. That's really tough if you're not taking it seriously. This syndrome is largely spiked when you come in and you start intensive workouts, and it's a change because you haven't been doing such intensive workouts for a long time. So that contrast, that rapid to go from kind of static to really dynamic workouts, really hard workouts, that's something that's kind of seen as a baseline cause for this syndrome. This actually, last week I wrote a big story about the review, kind of how the Oregon season unraveled, and one of the core complaints players and coaches had told me was that during 2016, players weren't working out hard enough in the weight room. But they were, one player said they were cutting corners. And so I think that's part of the context and the backstory of, I don't know if that went into any of the new strength plans for, hey, let's get these guys, let's work them out hard, kind of let them know what we're about. I don't know if that was the intent, but I know that that's kind of the backstory leading into this series of hard workouts.
Has Coach Taggart talked about this?
I would just say that, he really wanted to make the point that, and I understood it, that they weren't actively trying to hurt anybody. And that wasn't in my reporting either, that they could step off to the side and seek help from an athletic trainer if they needed, these guys were pushing themselves to a point, at a certain point, that, they want to finish the workout. I totally understood that, and I actually went back through and added into my story that, they could have stepped off to the side if they wanted to. So I think that his biggest complaint, which I'll just share, was this, that, they weren't trying to outright punish these guys. That was his takeaway, and I understand that. I just know that, however many, 100-plus guys, they got through it just fine, but 3 did have to go to the hospital. I think that's newsworthy.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.